Hi, welcome to this video about the Shakespeare Part A question from your Paper 1 GCSE Literature exam. In this exam you receive an extract from Romeo and Juliet and you're given a character question as displayed in front of you, and this one simply states, explore how Shakespeare presents the character of Lord Capulet in this extract. Refer closely to the extract in your answer. The extract itself is taken from the exchange at the Capulet feast, where Lord Capulet is extremely angry with Tybalt because he refuses to back down when Romeo has gate-crashed the feast. The first piece of advice I would give everyone is to make sure in the exam that you are actually answering the questions on Romeo and Juliet. This is the text we have studied at the school, but there will be other Shakespeare texts on the exam paper, so please ensure that you answer on Romeo and Juliet, which is always question 3. So for the Part A question, we're looking at how Shakespeare presents the character of Lord Capulet. Sometimes it can be how Shakespeare presents a relationship, so please be aware that it's not always a straightforward character question. For this one, the first thing that I would do is read the extract really carefully, bearing in mind what the question is, and spend about 7 minutes annotating the text. This time is not wasted time, and it will really help you write a much more substantial response for your answer in the actual exam. In total for this question, you've got about 30 minutes, so I'd encourage you to spend about 7 minutes carefully planning and annotating, and then the remaining 23 minutes actually writing your response. What I suggest we do now is have a look at annotating this extract for ourselves. But the first thing to bear in mind is some of the common techniques that Shakespeare uses quite often. So for example, metaphors, similes, personification, your individual word choices like adjectives, adverbs, verbs, general imagery, oxymorons, rhetorical questions, repetition, imperatives, exclamatory, hyperbole, and exaggeration. Again, Shakespeare uses these techniques very, very commonly, so please keep an eye out for these in the given extract. What I suggest you do now is pause this video and spend a few minutes just briefly looking at the points that we could possibly make about Lord Capulet in this extract. So have a think about how he is presented, how does his character come across, and what literary devices did Shakespeare use to present him in that light. So if you'd like to pause the video now and just briefly have a look at how you might annotate this extract. Hopefully you were able to find quite a few different character traits about Lord Capulet in there and able to pick out some of the techniques used by Shakespeare. If I just present a copy that I've annotated for us here, you can see that initially at the start he is presented as being quite caring because he is worried about Tybalt. He asks him how he is and why is he storming off, and that shows a caring side to Lord Capulet. He is also presented as being quite sensible through the triadic structure, content thee, gentle coz, let him alone, and also the imperatives, be patient, take no note of him. So Lord Capulet is giving some very, very sensible advice to his nephew within this exchange here. He's also presented as being quite passive and peaceful via the adjectives that he uses to describe Romeo. So he describes Romeo using the adjectives virtuous and well-governed, which again show him as passive and peaceful. As the exchange progresses, because Tybalt is not taking his advice on board, Lord Capulet becomes much more angry. And we can see this in this exchange down here, where he uses a total of 7 exclamatories that I've highlighted there, as well as many other techniques to show this anger. The rhetorical question, am I the master here or you, presents him as being quite patriarchal and reminding Tybalt who is in charge. As he moves on, he uses the noun boy twice, so he repeats that noun because he is insulting Tybalt, and again this anger is increasing and it's kind of becoming a little bit more furious as we progress through the extract. You can see the rhetorical questions continuing, the exclamatories continuing through this passage here, and the short sentences combined with those exclamatories show him as being a little bit frustrated, and you could also say that he is furious at this point with his nephew. So the main points that we could make in our answer about Lord Capulet is that he's initially presented as caring. He's then also presented as quite passive and peaceful. He gives some sensible advice to his nephew. He then gets a little bit more angry and he becomes a bit more dominant and shows his authority, before finally getting frustrated and insulting his nephew and then becoming furious towards the end. So there's quite a few different points we can make about Lord Capulet in this exchange. Once you've spent about 7 minutes annotating and picking out some of the key features and key character traits, we then get to writing our question. And for this response, we will be using Peel to structure our response. So, just a quick basic, make sure that you are answering the question asked. Make a point about Lord Capulet, which is answering the question, and we often say to use the wording of the question to start that point. So in this extract, Lord Capulet is presented as angry. Full stop, done. Evidence. Include some evidence in quotation marks. Make sure you get at least one quote, if not two, in there. And again, like I say there on the tips on this side, make sure that your evidence is in quotation marks. So any quote that you've taken from the extract, including individual words, should be in quotation marks. And again, you should be trying to embed that evidence fluently. The explanation and language is all kind of mixed in together, and that's simply where you are explaining how or why you think that evidence supports the point that you've made previously. So you're just explaining your evidence and how it supports that point, and talking about any language devices that have been used to help with that. And again, if I take the question here, you can remember from the question it says, explore how Shakespeare presents the character of Lord Capulet in this extract. Refer closely to the extract in your answer. You are expected to be picking out small quotations, individual words, and really zooming in on the language that Shakespeare has used. What I'd like to do now is share a paragraph with you, a completed Peel paragraph, which kind of details how Lord Capulet is being presented as patriarchal and dominant, particularly in this exchange here where he's quite patriarchal and dominant. And if you'd like to just pause this for a minute and have a quick read of this sample Peel paragraph, and then we'll continue on in a few seconds. So within this Peel paragraph, you can see there's a very clear point, and I've just underlined it there for you to see easily. Lord Capulet is a patriarchal, demanding character. Best evidenced when he loses his patience with Tybalt and demands that he shall be endured, I say he shall. So again, your evidence has been embedded there. The imperatives combined with the exclamatory show his demanding nature, while the repetition of go to shows how quickly he becomes dismissive of Tybalt's concerns. His view is the only one that matters. So again, we can see that this Peel paragraph is embedding terminology, commenting on the imperatives, exclamatories, and repetition. The rhetorical question, am I the master here or you, is his way of reminding Tybalt who's in charge. In this short rant, he uses a total of 7 exclamation marks in short succession, showing his anger and frustration, which again shows his demanding nature. I say he shall. Go to, you'll not endure him. This very clearly shows that he is exerting his patriarchal authority and demanding Tybalt does as he is told. So from an examiner's point of view, the positives about this Peel paragraph are that, a clear point has been made. He is a patriarchal, demanding character. We've got some good evidence in there to show him as patriarchal and demanding, so our quotes there. It has been embedded with many different literary devices commenting on the effect of imperatives, exclamatories, repetition, and rhetorical question. And in addition to that, the paragraph continually links back to the idea of him being patriarchal and dominant. For example, him being demanding, showing his anger and frustration, reminding Tybalt who's in charge. It keeps linking back to the idea in our point of him being a patriarchal, demanding character. So I hope you found this video useful. Again, I'd like to remind you of some of the key tips that I've been mentioning within here. Please make sure that you choose the Romeo and Juliet question. Some students do make a simple mistake of choosing the wrong extract, so it's always question 3. Please spend time reading and annotating the text. about 7 minutes reading and annotating the text. That is absolutely key to allow you to produce a response to a really, really good standard. Bring some highlighters with you to the exam, read the text twice, annotate very quickly what are the key character traits you can find. So for example, he's caring, angry, peaceful, sensible, furious, and then think about the techniques that have been used by Shakespeare. I would also encourage you to treat this question almost like your language and structure questions from the language GCSE. The examiners really want to see you honing in on the language and structure devices that Shakespeare has used, including very close textual analysis, analysing individual words, etc. They are often indicative of higher level responses. So treat it just like a language and structure question from your English language GCSE. If you have any further questions about Shakespeare Part A, please ask your English teacher and they will be more than happy to help you. Again, hope you found this video useful. Thanks for watching.